Peace and blessings, everybody. I want to say welcome back to Space Invaders TV. Today is December the 16th, 2021. Peace be with all of you at this time. Right now, y'all see the title. I want to dive into this. I want to talk about this opioid crisis, fentanyl, and it being the deadliest out of all the opioids. Fentanyl is the deadliest right now. Let me say the synthetic use of it is the deadliest right now. Let's be clear here. Addiction has no stipulations on race, color, creed, class. Doesn't care what city you live in, what town you live in. It doesn't. When addiction has no stipulations, okay? If someone is partaking in drug use, it doesn't care what your family dynamics are. It doesn't care about none of the things that man cares about. Let's just say that, okay? So when we talk about, let me fix my camera real quick. It's looking like it's a little crooked, folks. Give me a second. All right. Yeah. So when we talk about addiction here, when we talk about these opioid addictions, every city, town across this country pretty much has been affected and is affected by a family member or what have you being addicted to an opioid or some type of drug. You know, most of us experienced it. Most people have a relative right now that they know that is struggling with an addiction. You know, but I often, you know, when we talk about these opioids here, you know, I'm hearing people say, "Oh, so now the government or they want to say something because white America is being affected by it or blah blah blah." But when the crack era was in, you know, they didn't care. Now, I hear those sentiments. I hear those. I hear those. But you gotta take a step back now, and you have to think on a broader spectrum now. It's not about that. What it's about is the country can no longer turn a blind eye to this opioid addiction and the death toll. They can't turn a blind eye anymore because of the fact that there are more. It's right in their face right now. They cannot turn a blind eye to it. So as I said before, it doesn't care about an addiction, doesn't care, a drug doesn't care about what your race, creed, nationality, which side of the city you live on, if you live in how much your house costs. It doesn't care about your class. It doesn't care about any of that. You know, once someone partakes in drug use, that's it. You know, some people are strong enough to make it out Some people can take a drug and it's just like they're what you call functioning addicts. They can continue to go on and do their daily. They can continue to work every day. They can still function. Then there are those who partake in a drug and that becomes their whole life. That becomes their life. That becomes their day. Um, that it becomes their daily job is chasing the drug. Everything that they do is chasing the drug. And when you have someone that is struggling with addiction, it's hard, and you don't want to. It's hard, and you can't. You don't. What you don't want to do is like talk down on someone that is dealing and struggling with addiction. You don't want to do that because there are two things going on. Especially if you have a family member and they're struggling, addict or what have you. You don't understand them, and they don't understand you. Okay, when someone has a strong-willed mind, and a drug, you're not dibbling and dabbling with drugs. We can't understand someone who's dealing in that lifestyle, who's struggling. We can't understand that. But what we don't and what we can't do is like degrade them because or talk down on them, make them feel less than, because what that does is pushes them more and more. All we can do is just continue to show our love, show them love, but not pacify the situation, not enable them. Show them love. Try to let them know that you're there for them, to get them help if they want and when they're ready, because they have to be ready. Don't try to diagnose the issues, because that's just going to further make you frustrated. So me coming up in the mid 70s, well, being born in the mid 70s, coming up in the 80s, I've seen the syringes in the street. I've seen the nodding, people on these opioids and these pills and things, and they just, as kids, we were young, we would laugh when we see these things. We'll see people like nodding next to telephone booths or next to poles, but never hit the pole, nodding and never hitting the ground, and then just pop back out and start walking. Before they make it to the next corner, they're nodding out again. We would watch these things as kids and be like, what in the world? It was a little scary and traumatizing to watch that as a kid and see that. It was almost common coming from where I come from the tri-state area, inner city, and New Jersey, you know what I'm saying? New Jersey to be exact. And to see these things, it was almost common, to see it. And being on a public bus as a kid, coming home from school or whatever, or wherever I'm going, and seeing people just nodding out on the bus, not from being tired, from being just that drug had them nod out. Just, they could be in mid-conversation with you and just pop back out and they can nod out on you in the middle of a conversation and come right back and pick right back up where they left, and you be like, wow, how the hell? It was often amazing. Many families was broken up from these addictions, from opioids. Then you got the crack era come through. A lot of families were broken up. So now, what people are thinking is that, so now they want to come save. But with the crack era, they didn't know They cannot turn the blind eye no more, because this addiction is out of control. And some people may you think that is a resurgence in this, because if you live through, like, I was born in the mid-70s, came up in the 80s and seen this, but if you was there in the 70s, and you were older, adult in the 70s, or in the 60s, this is nothing new. You seen that come. You seen that, You seen this opioid addiction ain't nothing new to you. You know what I mean? And it may seem like a resurgence, but it's always been there. And then you think about, this is a pandemic as well. Opioid use is rampant around this country, around this nation, around the globe. Okay? And you think about when COVID hit in 2020. So you think about the hospitals were getting flooded with this other pandemic, with this pandemic, opioid addiction. Then you had COVID. So now, but you're not hearing about, the opioid addiction anymore. You're just hearing about the COVID, because the death toll was just, we lost so far, many sources, CDC, we have lost 800,000 or better people to COVID, okay, in that short span. But opioid addiction, people, 100,000 people will die a year from opioid addiction, overdose, I should say. So you can see how, like, that kind of, you weren't hearing too much. You just were hearing about the COVID, but understand, the opioid addiction been there. That's been a pandemic, and then you had the COVID, and both of these deadly things are killing people by the thousands, hundreds of thousands. So some people may say, okay, some people may still not fully know, like, what's an opioid? Opioid is a class drug found in opium poppy plant. It works in the brain to relieve pain, also used in anesthesias. Once again, what are they used for? Pain, particularly during or after surgery, operations. How many types of opioids are there? There's oxycodone, oxycontin, hydrocodone, Vicodin, morphine, and methadone. Okay? So you got 6 different opioids. All right? Now, I remember coming up as a kid, I would, in my city, and I'm for sure all the major cities around the country, you were seeing the methadone clinics dispersed throughout the city, and there would be long lines, never knowing at a young age, like, what was that about, until I start getting up in age, and in my late teens, in my mid teens, I should say, and then I started to recognize, like, what this was, and, like, people would be up early, long lines, and that was something to help wean people off slowly. That was to help wean off slowly, because you couldn't just, you just don't want a cold turkey, because that can send a body into shock and kill a person. So you know, they would, the methadone clinics were to give them their little boost, you know, but give them small doses, and to help them function and move around, and to keep them alive, you know, with hopes of saving some. And some people took advantage of that in the right way, and wanted to kick the habit, and they used that system as they should. But then there were those that were abusing it. You know, they were just using it to get their little quick, little small fix, so till they can get to their next fix. You know, so yeah, that was often. So when we talk about fentanyl now, say, where does fentanyl come from? How is it produced? Now, the synthetic fentanyl is produced in labs in Mexico. Okay, how long has it been in the United States? Fentanyl has been in the United States for 61 years. Okay, developed in 1959, introduced in the 1960s as an intravenous anesthetic. What is the survival rate once you've taken this substance? It's very low. And research has, you know, stated that 1 kilogram can kill 500,000 people. 1 kilogram could do that. Let's talk about opioids. Let's talk about fentanyl. Let's talk some facts real quick, okay? And these facts come from DEA.gov. All right. Fentanyl is a synthetic opioid typically used to treat patients with chronic severe pain or severe pain following surgery. Fentanyl is a Schedule II controlled substance that is similar to morphine, but about 100 times more potent. Under the supervision of a licensed medical professional, fentanyl has a legitimate medical use. Patients prescribed fentanyl should be monitored for potential misuse or abuse. Across the country and sold on illegal drug markets, fentanyl is being mixed in with other illicit drugs to increase the potency of the drug, sold as powders and nasal sprays, and increasingly pressed into pills made to look like legitimate prescription opioids. Because there's no official oversight or quality control, these counterfeit pills often contain lethal doses of fentanyl with none of the promised drug. There's a significant risk that illegal drugs have been intentionally contaminated with fentanyl. Because of its potency and low cost, drug dealers have been mixing fentanyl with other drugs, including heroin, methamphetamine, cocaine, increasing the likelihood of fatal interaction. Producing illicit fentanyl is not an exact science. 2 milligrams of fentanyl can be lethal depending on one's body size, tolerance, and past usage. DEA analysts has found counterfeit pills ranging from 0.02 to 5.1 milligrams, more than twice the lethal dose of fentanyl per tablet. 42% of pills tested for fentanyl contain at least 2 milligrams of fentanyl, considered a potentially lethal dose. Drug trafficking organizations typically distribute fentanyl by the kilogram. 1 kilogram of fentanyl has the potential to kill 500 people. It is possible for someone to take a pill without It is possible for someone to take a pill without knowing it contains fentanyl. It is also possible to take a pill knowing it contains fentanyl, but with no way of knowing if it contains a lethal dose. According to the CDC, synthetic opioids like fentanyl are the primary driver of overdose deaths in the United States. Comparison between 12 months ending January 31st, 2020 and the 12 months ending January 31st, 2021. During this period, overdose deaths involving opioids rose 38.1%. Uh, Overdose deaths involving synthetic opioids, primarily illicit manufactured fentanyl, rose 55.6% and appeared to be the primary driver of the increase in total drug overdose. It's wild, man. Alright, let's go on here. Unless a drug is prescribed by a licensed medical professional and dispensed by a legitimate pharmacy, you can't know if it's fake or legitimate. And without laboratory testing, there's no way to know the amount of fentanyl in an individual pill or how much may have been added to another drug. This is especially dangerous because of fentanyl potency. Alright? So that's your facts about fentanyl, ladies and gentlemen. And so you have today, like, so with fentanyl being the number one deadliest opioid right now, you have like law enforcement going after if someone has died from a fentanyl overdose. You have law enforcement now going after whoever they think, and they're looking for those who have sold the drug to the deceased, and they are charging them with that death if they find them. That is what's going on now, you know, because it's really out of control, and it's being pushed out here illegal, and nobody knows, you know, and people, you know, you some people say, oh, why, if they know it's in there, why are they taking it? Once again, when somebody is struggling with an addiction, they're not strong-minded as you. They're not thinking about that. They're thinking they're gonna, you know, and they're thinking like, hey, it can't do nothing to me, or they may think like, hey, well, if it's my time, it's my time, or they're not. They just trying to get that hit. They thinking, you know, they're not as strong-minded and strong-willed as many of us. You know, it's an addiction. It's a sickness. You know, can an addiction be frustrating for us? You know, those of us who are not on drugs and things of that nature. Yes, it can be. Yes, it will be. You know, because, you know, you're not understanding that life and that struggle. They're not understanding why you're not understanding them, and it's just a whole big, you know, real big misunderstanding of not understanding. But are you supposed to understand? I would say that's left up to you. You know, only thing that I can say is that, well, if we know of a family member or a friend that's dealing with addiction, all you could do is support them. Let them know that you're there. You don't want to be the support system for and help funding their addiction, but you want to let them know that you're there for them, trying to help them when they're ready for the help, and just making an understanding like, hey, I'm not gonna be your bank for you when you want to come and get high. I'm not the person to come to. I'm not gonna fund your habit. You know, you're gonna have to you find the means to fund your habit, and hope that you're not doing it to where you're trying to cause someone harm, or and in return causing yourself some harm. You know, so and some of the side effects that you would see from, you know, most opioids: euphoria, pain relief, relaxation, sedation, confusion, drowsiness, dizziness, nausea, vomiting, urinary retention, pupillary constriction. What are the overdose effects? Overdose may result in stupor, changes in pupillary size, uh, respiratory failure leading to death, and coma. Um, and what they're doing to combat in many hospitals around the country, the reversal, what they're using to reverse a opioid overdose, they're using uh, naloxone. If I'm pronouncing it right, naloxone. They're they're giving that to those who are addicted, and who may come into the hospital, uh, and they may revive from an overdose. Before they let them leave, they let them get themselves together or whatever, and they hit them up to try to reverse it, and then they'll give them the package. So if they go back out again and experience an overdose, that they can go ahead and inject themselves to reverse the effects, or reverse the overdose. So let me read that. Naloxone is a medication approved by the FDA designed to rapidly reverse opioid overdose. It is an opioid antagonist, meaning that it binds to opioid receptors and can reverse and block the effects of other opioids, such as heroin, morphine, and oxycodone. So that's what naloxone does. And once again, like I said, you have hospitals around the country that they have um, those that are addicted that may come into the hospital, um, that may have almost OD'd. They revive them. They hit them up with naloxone themselves, and then they let them get themselves back together, you know, and before they leave the hospital, they give them the package themselves to, if this happens again. And so what it does is, some people may say, well, that's kind of like enabling them. You continue to. It's the same thing as it's like you when somebody's addicted, you can't. They have to want to mentally. They have to. You can want the best for them all day long. When someone is addicted, they have to want to change themselves. You're gonna find yourself, so sometimes you see they want to change. They're fighting. They'll go in. You have some people that go in and out of rehabs. They really are fighting. They trying. They really want to fight this addiction, and they just keep relapsing. They keep relapsing. They're trying. You know, you got those that never even try at all. But you have some folks that are addicts that they try, and this is whatever drug. Not just speaking on the fentanyl use and everything. Not just speaking on that, but whatever drug you have, and people are addicted and they have to go to rehab. They're really trying. Some people go in and out. It may take them years before they finally really commit and finally walk the straight path. But each person is different, you know. So my thing once again is, we can't try not to be so judgmental of family members that you may know that may or even friends that may be dealing with any addiction. Try not to be so judgmental of them. Just try to just always let them know that you're there for them mentally. You're there for them. If they want someone to talk to, you're there for them. But you cannot and will not financially fund them with their habit. Just always make sure to stress that. And that's pretty much all you can do until they seek out professional help, or they're willing to take the help from you, you know, that you're willing to get them, you know. Um, but as you will see at the bottom of the screen here, I had a hotline number here for you. Sam, SAMHSA apostrophe S National Hotline. The phone number is 1-800-622-HELP or 1-800-622-4357. Um, you can go to the website as well, SAMHSA .gov, and that will let you know the different programs in your city, and state, or what have you, that different treatment centers for whatever addiction you may have, whether it's alcoholism, whatever. They will get you to the proper treatment centers. You can find all the treatment centers in your city and state there. And as I said, this opioid addiction, this opioid crisis, is something serious. It's a pandemic as well. I mean, media-wise, it's took in the back seat because of the COVID pandemic, okay? And then the numbers of the COVID was just like rapid. You know, like I said, they're saying so far 800,000 plus people have died from the COVID-19, all right? But from opioid overdoses, 100,000 a year die. All right. So, you know, that's crazy. And as I said early on before I close out, it don't matter your race, your nationality, your class, creed, what side of the city, what kind of house you live in. It don't, who your friends are. It don't matter. When you partake in drugs, it has no class. It will take you down. You know, all parties have been affected on both ends. The dealers and the users. Okay? Those who are addicted. You know, at the end of the day, both people are addicted. You have the dealers that are addicted to making the money, that are addicted to that fast lifestyle, they're addicted to that, you know, and by any means necessary, they're gonna protect what's theirs, you know, in that underworld, okay? Because it's a whole nother world, okay? And then you have those who are addicted, that by any means necessary, most gonna do what they gotta do to get that next fix. So this world here is a dog eat dog world. This underworld, this drug world, is a dog eat dog world, you know, and many lives are lost on both ends of this lifestyle. Okay. However, in death or physically, by being put away in prisons for years. Okay. So many families are torn apart by drugs, period. And this fentanyl use is just so out of hand because it's put in so many different. It's inside of all drugs now. I don't care from your marijuana, weed, or whatever, however you want to classify that. Heroin, cocaine, it's in everything now. So people are not even knowing, and we're hearing about people just dying. Some people you might not even know that partaked in a drug. You find out that they were partaking in a drug because then you find that, wow, they died from a fentanyl overdose. You know, but when some are mentally, they're not strong when they're addicted to a drug, when you have a habit, a drug habit, addicts, they're not strong mentally, okay? Every day is a fight for them. So they're not knowing. They're not knowing, and then when they do know, it's just that addiction is calling them, you know? That addiction is calling them. They're not thinking about what us strong mind willed folks, they're not thinking how we're thinking. So once again, only thing we could do, if you have loved ones and friends, period, that is going through, all you can do is show them love, continue to let them know that you're there for them, and try not to support their habit. Try not to fund their habit, okay, with money or whatever, you know. Try not to fund that habit. Just let them know that you're there for them. They want to talk, whatever. They need something to eat. You know, they need some clothes or something like that. Let them know you're there on that support system, but don't come to you. Don't enable them that way by funding their habit. Don't do that. You know, and let's always understand, like, it's not meant for you to really understand why somebody has the habit. And, because that's where the argument starts, and you argue with this person that has the habit, and then you argue with them, and then you're not understanding why they had a habit. They're not understanding why. You're not understanding why they don't want to get off. They don't understand why you want them to get off. Yeah, you think they're crazy. They think you're crazy. Like, you think you want better for them. They thinking that they are living better, you know. In some instances, some of them, and then some of them do know, but it's just a fight for them every day. So, as I said, all we can do is support those that we may know that are fighting an addiction, a drug addiction. Just understand that it's a fight for them every day, and that's just it, ladies and gentlemen. If you know anybody that is struggling, please, the information at the bottom of the screen, pass it on to them. And if they're seeking the help, then get them the help. You can't force no one that is addicted, that has a habit, a drug habit. You can't force them. They have to want to do it when they're ready to do it. When they're ready to change, they have to want to. Not when you think they should, okay? So keep that in mind. Try not to be so overpowering with a relative that you, or a friend that may be. Just step aside and let them know, hey, I'm not here. Make sure you make that bound. No, I'm not giving you any no funds. I'm not supporting your habit in that way. You want to eat, I'll feed you. You need warm clothes, I'll give you that. You need to take a bath, I can help you with that. But I'm not giving you no money. And another thing, I'm not driving you to the drug either. I'm not gonna drop you off to get the drugs either. So you have to put guidelines up. And that way they know when they come to you, they coming to you for what you said that you will offer. Food, clothing, they want to take a bath, things of that nature. You there for that. So they know when they come to you, it must be for those things that you laid out. You have to put, some guidelines up. You can't let it be a free fall when it comes to that. All right. I know some people say, well, I'd rather give them the money than they go out here and knock somebody in the head. And then what happens when they're coming back and forth? So, yeah, we have to be mindful of that, But once again, to each his own, But ladies and gentlemen, yeah, that's my time. I just wanted to touch on that because this opioid addiction and this fentanyl is a serious issue right now. And It's killing folks faster because a lot of folks don't even know that it's in a drug that they partake in. They're not even knowing that it's in there, and maybe not even not even the person selling it to them might not even know that it's in that that's in there. You know, so man, and maybe they do. I don't know. You know, um, right now is really a scary, dangerous time because not only a drug can take you, the drug can take you out. Period. You know, drugs can take you out. Period. You know, use of heroin and cocaine to take you out. Period. But now, when you have something like synthetic fentanyl put on top of it, now it's people are gone just like that. I mean, you can't really, and if you inhale it, it's possible. If you just take enough fumes, you could possibly. If it gets on your skin, you can die. Like it's at a height right now. Drug use is really scary right now. All right. So, ladies and gentlemen, everyone, stay safe. Enjoy your holiday. Um, you know, you got if you partake in Christmas and um, you got New Year's Eve coming up, New Year's coming up. I hope that the new year will be better for more of you guys. I am going to drop another show before this year is out. I want to do a kind of end of the year wrap up review about most of the things we talked about, and then just let's see what's going to take place in the future. What's going to happen and what we can look for and keep our eyes on for the next year. And watching and seeing what's going to change. Around the globe on all levels, on a political level, the education level, on all levels, on when we talking about employee to employer relationships, what's going to change on all levels. So I'm gonna do an end of the year wrap up on all these things. And once again, to all my people in the Guilford County area, when we talk North Carolina, you talk about the teachers. I just seen the other day when you guys actually yesterday, you guys are receiving a bonus, and I know that the teachers of Guilford County schools in North Carolina were shooting for a $4,000 bonus, and they're talking $2,800 in total bonuses for the teachers. Keep fighting, keep fighting. No, you guys, you know your worth. I knew that a lot of teachers went out and protest and everything, and then look what happened. You start making things move. Things move. You know, understand that no matter what industry you're in, right? If you know that it's a need for that industry that you're in, then understand that they need you in that industry. Okay, and more so right now, they can't afford. No, they can't afford the people to walk out on them right now. You know, and we see ridiculous things happening with the cost of goods going up. Inflation is up for no reason. Can't even understand why the cost of these goods are up. Can't even understand why the cost of many of these goods are up. But ladies and gentlemen, that's my time. I'm your host, Rashawn, aka Looker, and this is Space Invaders TV. Make sure to tell a friend, tell a friend. Make sure to share. Don't just keep the information that I bring to you guys. Don't keep it for yourself. Make sure to share it on with your friends. That's what it's about here, and your family members. I talk about situations that many may speak with their family about around the table. Many may talk with their friends and colleagues. Issues, like that. I bring to you guys. We talk local, national, and world news. You know, I bring to you and elaborate more on issues that maybe the media may touch on, but they don't really elaborate. I like to go deeper a little deeper in on some of the issues and give most a more broad understanding of what's going on. So that's my time, ladies and gentlemen. I'm your host, Rashawn, aka Looker. This is Space Invaders TV. Peace and blessings be with all you, and I'm out.